Are we ready to start? Yes, let's start. Oh, okay. Good evening, everybody. I hope your day is going well. With permission from X Farm, I am also recording this conversation for YouTube so that we can share this conversation. Mr. Lore? Yes, sir. We are fine with that. Okay. Um, Obviously, nobody's face will come. It's just that I want to uh, make it available for everyone. So, okay, we've got a good number to start. Shout out to everyone who is here on time. Thank you very much. So, we're gonna not waste too much time on fluffing about. Today, as I promised, we're going to be talking about a very, very contentious topic when it comes to rabbit farming, rabbit keeping, and other stuff. So, we will talk about four main rabbit breeding. Okay, rabbit breeding, four main types of breeding. So, the key one, the most important one that everybody is scared of, everybody is very cautious to do is inbreeding. We're going to be talking about inbreeding, line breeding, outcross or crossbreeding, and then finally, we will talk about mixed breeding or what I call hybrid. So, without wasting any time, I just want to give a quick history about rabbit breeding. All these four that I have mentioned are used in creating the breeds that we benefit from today, right from New Zealand to California to the Hyla to any breed in this world that we know of. Either one or more of these methods of breeding is used to create these breeds. So let's bear that in mind. And this practice has been in place for decades, hundreds, thousands of years. And the purpose of it is to create unique kind of breed that ensures that if you're breeding because of the color of the fur, or you're breeding because of the size of the animal, or due to a specific trait, you introduce any of these four breedings. Just to remind you as well, this type of breeding is done not just in the rabbit farming industry, but also it is done in other livestock. So let's not be afraid of any of these four type of breeding. Now let's take it from first, inbreeding. Inbreeding.
Lord, èmi ò jẹ the other one yẹn o. I told you. Your phone is on speaker, madam. Your phone is on speaker. Please mute. Oh, sorry.
So, inbreeding, the definition of inbreeding is when you mate or you breed close relatives. when you breed close relatives. So a typical and the best inbreeding, or the most serious practice of inbreeding, is when you breed rabbits of the same litter. So a direct brother to a sister. That is pure inbreeding, if you like. That's the highest level of inbreeding. Then as you go up the chain, the inbreeding is diluted, as in now you're mating mother and son, father and daughter, and then as you go further, you're mating stepmother to stepson, you're mating stepsister to stepbrother. So that is the nucleus of inbreeding. Now that then spills or matches us straight into line breeding. So line breeding is the same as inbreeding. It's just that it's a little bit of a distance. So it's not directly parent to child or sister to brother, but it's now cousin to cousin. So you see the distance is a little bit further, cousin to cousin, and then you have grandmother to granddaughter, then you have great grandmother to great granddaughter, grand uncle to grand cousin, second cousin, third cousin, and it goes on and on and on. It never stops. So that is line breeding. Now I have pre-recorded some videos, 4 or 5 separate videos to explain this into details. And as I promised, I wanted to have this conversation with this special group first before I bring it on the public domain. So you're the first to have this conversation, and then after, you will have this live on YouTube, and also you will have the individual ones that we talk about. So line breeding is a type of inbreeding, so to speak. Then we come to one of the accepted type of breeding, which is cross breeding or outcross breeding. This is acceptable because you're breeding the same breeds but totally different kind of line, genetic line. So I gave the example in that videos that I've done. So somebody, a Yoruba in Abeokuta, who goes all the way to Kano. Forgive me, I don't know the geographical locations, but going all the way to Kano to marry another Yoruba. So they are all Yoruba people, right? But they are totally from a different far away, and they come together to marry. Or how many people have witnessed people falling in love and both of them have got the common surname? So let's say, for instance, Awolowo or Abiola. Maybe you're in Ibadan. Your surname happened to be Abiola, and then you meet a beautiful girl that catches your heart, and also her surname is Abiola, but you're not directly related in any way, but you're in the same family line. Of course, if you have the Abiola name, you are guaranteed to be coming from the same family. In that respect, I can confirm that I might be a possible breed, and this is real, of a line breeding, because my mother and father, both of them are from the same kind of clan, if you like. They are not directly related, but they are all from the same line. So if you go to Ghana, I come from Accra and I come from La. Probably if you've been to Ghana before, then you've heard of the Labadi Beach Hotel or Labadi Beach. That's where I come from. And in La, there is a clan called Abafum. The Abafum clan has got so many branches. It's got so many. And my father come from um, hail from one um, hail from one part of Abafum.
Mute your phone. Mute your phone. Mute your phone.
My father come from Abafum, and my mother also come from Abafum, but they are not related in any way. Maybe when you go deep into the millions, you will realize that they are related somehow. But because it's far away,
Mute your phone.
so in
Go on, sir. Please go on, sir.
yeah, so inbreeding is not necessarily a bad thing, or line breeding is not necessarily a bad thing. So let's it's a bit disruptive, isn't it?
Mr. Godwin, please mute your phone.
Okay. So the last type of breeding is what we call mixed breeding. And mixed breeding is, we have to take very, very good note of mixed breeding, because I believe 80 to 90% of us in Africa do mixed breeding. So mixed breeding is when you breed totally different breeds. So you for example, breed Hyla to a New Zealand, or you breed a New Zealand to California, you breed a Flemish Giant to a New Zealand, and that is where mixed breeding comes in. So you're mixing the breeds. So now that I've introduced all of these breeds, I'm going to now go back and take them one, and then we discuss them into details. If you go on the YouTube videos that I've pre-recorded, that will air in about 10 minutes after we finish this conversation, we will first talk about inbreeding, the practice of inbreeding, and why it was practiced. Then we'll talk about some advantages and disadvantages. Okay, so wow. So
Mr. Godwin, why are you doing this now?
so inbreeding, like you said, is when you're breeding animals that are close in the family line. That is when you have inbreeding. So let's talk about some of the reasons why inbreeding is done. You have a litter of rabbit, so you've gone to get, let's say, a pure breed from a pure breeder, from a renowned breeder. You've gone to get, for argument's sake, let's say you've gone to get a California, New Zealand. You've gone to get a pure New Zealand buck. Okay. maybe you couldn't afford the back and the doe, so you chose to buy the back first. You now use the pure breed back to cross the local breeds that you have, that you don't know, that you think that local breed is, in your mind, that local breed you think is a New Zealand as well, because it's got all the phenotype of a New Zealand. So in your mind, you're crossing the pure breed back to your local breed doe, which you assume is a New Zealand. So what's going to happen is when they have babies, because your local breed, even though you assume that it's a New Zealand, it might not be a pure New Zealand. It might not have, maybe it has 25% of New Zealand, but you don't know. You don't know because you didn't buy that from a reputable breeder. Now, what you can do to improve and ensure that you spread this pure breed New Zealand is to, after breeding the local and pure, let's say you had 6 babies for argument's sake, you will now try to inject as much of the pure breed that you use so much money to buy into your breeding pool. And therefore, soon as the babies that you had, let's say for instance, out of the babies that you had, you chose to keep 2 girls and 1 boy. Or let's say 3 girls and 1 boy, you sold the rest or you used the rest for any other reason. So you've chosen to keep 3 girls and 1 boy. Now, when they are of age, you now turn around and you bred the father to all 3 girls. Now, you have to be aware that the babies have got 50% of the father's gene and 50% of the mother's gene. Even though the father is a pure breed, it is not 100% guaranteed that the father have got the dominant pure genes, because genetics is a different biology altogether. So therefore, even though it's a pure breed, it is not guaranteed that the father hasn't got some recessive gene in it. And that small percentage of recessive gene, father might have passed on to the babies. Now, the way genes work, I don't want to turn this into a biology class, but the way genes work is there is a recessive and a dominant gene. I think I explained that last time. The dominant is what shows. So if you breed a rabbit that has got A dominant and A recessive, who you bred with another one that has got A dominant and B recessive, so small a and big A, small a and big A. Remember, during breeding, the mother brings 2 and the father brings 2, or the mother brings 1 and the father brings 1. So there is a possibility that the mother genes brings A dominant and the father also bring A dominant. So in this case, you are going to have it is possible that your first shoot, you might have, if you are checking genetically, you might have AA, which is like a bonus. And it's also possible that you can have A a capital A, that's dominant A, and recessive A, which makes it 50-50, right? And then there is another possibility that you might have A recessive from the father and A recessive from the mother. In this case, this is why inbreeding is frowned upon. When the mother donates that recessive and the father also donates the recessive, we then have a big problem. In human terms, this is where we have sickle cell. When you're in a certain blood group and you marry someone from a certain blood group, there is a high possibility of you having sickle cell or any other diseases. And this happens a lot. And I know, whether knowingly or unknowingly, we practice this inbreeding in our farm all the time. And when we see the result, because we don't plan it, we haven't planned it, we tend to worry about what's going on. So it's possible that within the breed, you'll have one that is very bad. Deformity, doesn't even look like a rabbit. The fur is all over the place, and the skin, and some of them don't even make it to 1 week. It could be that they just picked the recessive genes, and that's why they couldn't be as good as the rest of them. So this is something we have to be aware when we are doing inbreeding. So that brings us back to some of the advantages and disadvantages. Advantage number one is when you do inbreeding, believe me or not, sisters and brothers, when you do inbreeding, you are possibly going to improve the genetic constitution of your rabbit. You are possibly going to improve. In fact, you are more than likely going to improve your breed pool. But you also have to be aware of the repercussion of doing inbreeding. As I've explained, your rabbits might have donated the recessive genes, which are hidden, that are not, you can't see. They can donate those, and if the two of them donate both, then you will have to do the needful, which is to end. Sometimes in the extreme situation, you can't even look at the rabbit because you can see the suffering, maybe face deformation, maybe they are, you can't even, so you have to be prepared to call some of these rabbits that have got the severe disability. Another advantage of inbreeding is when you do it properly. It's a tool. Remember, it's a tool. It's not a tool that you just use, but it's a process where you use it to ensure consistency in your breed pool. If used very well, probably everybody should at least give it a try, but you need to be ready and be intentional. I remember Mama May's one of her sweet word is she's intentional about what she's doing. Yes, if you're doing inbreeding, you have to be intentional, which means you have to pick a pen and paper and start writing down what you're doing and be aware of the possible outcome of what you're doing so that you don't frown upon it. So with inbreeding, you're likely to improve the gene pool of your rabbit. Improve, not increase, improve. Also with inbreeding, you are able to quickly establish some good traits, and that's where you should know when to stop. This is the problem when you don't know when to stop, because you've been successful in doing the inbreeding up to, let's say, 3 to 4 generations up to granddaughter and grandmother, if you're able to stop there, then you'll be able to selectively pick up the best breed that you can use to improve your herd of rabbit or your farm. Now, I'll counter that with a disadvantage there so that you're aware when you're doing it that it's possible that a hidden negative gene will resurface again at some point. But I don't think that is a big issue if you have the record and you're able to say, okay, this cousin gave birth to 10. Out of the 10, 2 of them were totally deformed. You will accept that, okay, it's part of my inbreeding pool and it's okay. I will just call these 2, or I'll just keep them until I'm not going to use them in my breeding stock again. And you have to be aware, or I'm not going to sell this to anyone who is buying breeding stock from me. These ones are going to be bred until they are of the age where we can use them as meat. So you need to take these precautions and be aware of what you're doing. Take note, observe, and select what you're doing. I'm not going to spend too much time on line breeding, is because line breeding is basically a watered down inbreeding. Basically, it's just that it's a little bit farther away, and therefore some or most of the advantages and disadvantages match, with exception of in line breeding you tend to take more notes. You have to take more notes because and it takes longer for you to arrive at where you're going, or what your goal is to achieve your goal. When you use line breeding, even though it is a bit safer than inbreeding, it takes you far longer because sometimes you have to go up to great grand or great great grandparents in order for you to achieve what you're doing in the line breeding. So just so we are aware of it. One advantage of line breeding over inbreeding is with line breeding, you tend to avoid some of the very bad experiences, as in the very, very worst of deformation, the worst of the um, gene, bad gene showing. You avoid it because it's a bit of a distance, but that doesn't mean you don't get it. You are likely to get that same problem, but it's much better. Line breeding and inbreeding, both of them are frowned upon big time in the West, in Europe, because Europe believe in purity. And remember, Europe's intention are not so much meat. They are more of the preservation of the genes, and therefore they believe that if you're using if you're breeding, it has to be you have to breed in order to achieve certain standards. They are more interested in the color. We in Africa are more interested in which one will give us more meat, or which one will gain the best weight in the quickest way. So that's inbreeding and line breeding done. Outcrossing. Outcrossing is where, like I explained earlier on, outcrossing is where you're crossing a New Zealand that you bought from Ghana, a pure breed New Zealand that you bought from Ghana, to a pure breed that you bought directly from South Africa. or a pure breed that you bought from America. So I don't think we do a lot of outcrossing in Africa purely because we do not have a lot of um, serious breeders. So you may have a white rabbit in your farm that you've always assumed that this is a New Zealand, and rightly so. It may have all the features of New Zealand, but maybe it only has 25% of the genetics of a real New Zealand, because if you go down its ancestors, you will not be able. Maybe there is a hyla there, there is a chinchilla there is a something you can't tell. You're not able to tell. So if you buy the pure breed from another reputable breeder, because a reputable breeder should be able to prove to you that the father, the grandmother, or up to the fourth generation are pure, and that's why this one is a pure breed. When you come and cross that one that you bought from a reputable farm to your local New Zealand, let's call it a local New Zealand, it is not necessarily an outcrossing, because you cannot prove that your local one is a New Zealand. So that is instead a mixed breeding. But it's all right. If you're doing your farm and you're developing your pool, you can somehow put it in the category of crossbreeding, but it's not. Technically, it is not, because your breed is not proven. The fact that you bought it from a local farmer um, who cannot prove that this is a pure breed doesn't mean it's a New Zealand. I know we use the word vaguely or loosely that this is a New Zealand just because of the phenotype, what we see in the physicality of that rabbit. So I don't think we do a lot of crossbreeding, just to be clear. But if you buy a pure breed New Zealand from America and you buy another pure breed New Zealand from South Africa, and you know the two farmers that you bought them from are both 100% authentic breeders. When you breed the two of them, they're coming from far away farms. They are 99% likely not to be related at all. When you breed them, then you're doing crossbreeding. Now, there are so many advantages to crossbreeding. The main ones are you're breeding totally unrelated rabbits, so you will have um, diversity in your gene pool, a lot of diversity. So they are not closely related. So you tend to avoid majority of the problems that you get in inbreeding, but then you get the vigor. You get your rabbits to be very active, and they might have, or they will have, most of the positive stuff, because mother's growth rate and father's growth rate are the same. So you are able to sort of make your breeds more stronger. Disadvantages is sometimes, as they say, the devil you know is better than the angel you don't know. So the difficulty is you're buying a breed from Ghana, and you've gone through a lot of difficulties bringing it there. It's expensive. You've gone through the trying to bring it to the country and everything, and then you end up, when it comes to you, you don't know the genes. There's nothing tested or anything. You tend to have a breed that might have some bad recessiveness. You breed it to your pure breed, your local pure breed, and the two of them brings the recessive genes, and you have mostly problems. So the fear of the unknown, you don't know what you're dealing with when you do crossbreeding. And sometimes it would take you a long time in order for you to bring your breeding stock back to stability. I know a lot of farmers who have bought breeds and then they sort of concluded that this breed is not good, it's not being productive. I can give you my farm as an example. We bought three pure breed New Zealand whites. One of them had a baby, four babies, didn't look after them. From then on, she didn't breed again. Anytime we breed her, she literally aborts or something happens.
Yes.
So that breed eventually, even though it's super expensive and it was a lot of hustle bringing it in, we had to end that breed. The second one, she had a baby once. She had only two baby, and then she had some kind of disease and she died. Right. The third one, which is the queen in our farm, she is so prolific. She is still there. She is littering babies. Her babies are littering babies. And through her, I can call her the queen mother of our farm. Through her, we have a lot of pure breeds. You won't even believe that those two that I mentioned, all their babies didn't do well. They either died along the way or they took the same mother's characteristics. So we have to be careful when we're getting into the breeding because you just don't know what you're bringing into your stock. And that's why sometimes it's even better, even though it's frowned upon, for you to work with the breeds that you know, the genes that you know, and resort to the inbreeding. Okay, so these are the disadvantages of the outcrossing. The main thing for us, are we okay with time? I think we are okay. We are just about 37 minutes. The main practice that we do in Africa is the mixed breeding. Okay, mixed breeding is where we are breeding so many different breeds all together. Highland to New Zealand, New Zealand to California to Flemish Giant, and we've mixed it. It's a mix. Yeah, it's a country where you have so much diversity. There are so much advantages as well as disadvantage to mixed breeding. So if you're doing it well and you're keeping note, you can do a mixed breeding to have your own pool of breeds that can be super prolific, that can be super good for your need. So the same example I gave of you having one back pure breed, if you breed it with your local breed, New Zealand, Hyla, California, whatever local you've got there, if you breed it and you're doing mixed breeding, because the local ones are already used,
Your speaker is on, Johnny Bonnie.
because your local breed is also already used to the environment, the heat, the noise, because rabbits adapt, right? And over the years, once they adapt, they pass on that adaptability to their offspring. So this rabbit is a hardy. It can thrive in 40 degrees heat with no problem. Even when dogs are barking, she knows that it's normal, so she's not gonna panic. She knows it's normal. When you're playing loud music, they know it's fine. They adapt. So when you bring the other breeds to mix it, you get a super breed of sorts, and slowly you're able to build your gene pool. So that's the advantages. And you realize that the Mixed breeds are more adaptive. They are very quick in adapting to situations. You see the baby born and dog barking right in front of them and they're still chilling like hello. Whereas if you have breeds that are not used to the environment, as soon as the dog bark, they are going to hide or they're going to kill themselves or something like that. They panic so much that their heart jumped out of their chest. So when you mix whatever breed you get from wherever to the local breed, sometimes it is best for your purpose. Disadvantage of mixed breeding is again similar to the outcrossing. You just don't know what you're bringing to your pool of breeds. So it's going to be a hit and miss to start with, but eventually you should be able to fish out the good breeds and mix them together. Oh, I'm just looking at a rabbit, 7 months old, and he's nearly 4 kg. He's a big boy. So anyway, that's just by the way. So this is how we can incorporate all these breeding. Please do not be afraid by the terminology, but if you're going to do it, we use one of these 4 methods to breed anyway. But just know what you're doing and that will help you. I'm going to have to say quickly before we go to the questions that mixed breeding, that's when you get the hybrids. We practice a lot of mixed breeding in our farm. So we use now all our bucks, our breeding bucks are either pure breed. Majority of them are pure breeds and the rest of them are hybrids. So they have the vigor already. So when you use the pure breed to cross the unknown breeds, that's when you get the hybrids. And the reason why I came out, probably I'm the first person I can claim this one, right? To come out with the hybrids. And I also gave the hybrids percentage. So when I crossed the pure breed New Zealand buck to the local unknown doe, I say that we have a 50%, their offspring become 50% hybrid. And hybrid because I know one of the genes, I don't know the other one. So 50%. So if I am keeping record, which I do, and I breed these, the offspring of the pure and the local becomes 50% hybrid. If I breed this 50% with a second pure breed, not the same father, I can go to the father and that will be inbreeding, or I can go to the second pure breed because I have three. I have 3 family tree of pure breed bucks. So if I cross the pure breed to my 50% hybrid, their offspring become 75% because 50% is coming from father and 25% is coming from the mother. So 75%. So up to the 4th generation, it is most likely that I have pure breeds. However, because we are not testing anything genetically, I will, if I'm selling that to you, I will let you know that this is a pure breed. This is 100%. This is the terminology I use, and maybe you can adopt the same thing. I say this is 100% hybrid. I try to use the word hybrid breed to let, if you're buying it from me, for you to be aware that this is not a product of pure to pure. The only way I will sell a pure breed to you is when I breed my pure breed to another pure breed. But I can sell to you. So say for instance, I can sell 100% hybrid to you at, let's say, 50% the price of the pure breed. That's because I developed this 100% hybrid in my farm through generation record keeping. I'll be able to tell you, if you're buying it from my farm, I'll be able to tell you this was the mother, this was the grandmother, this was the grandfather, and therefore this is my pool of 100% hybrid. I refuse to call them pure breed. I call them 100% hybrid, which in effect you can call it local pure breed, because I don't want to mix the genetics and confuse people too much. On this note, I will open the floor with, I've spoken for 45 minutes. So I'll open the floor for anyone who have got a question or confusion, and let's flow. I hope this conversation explains a lot to everyone, and hopefully we can work on that from there. So back to you, Chairman. If anyone have got any question, please, let's go.
Anyone with questions, please? Questions, please. Good evening, Mr. Rabbito Farmino.
Good evening, Mama Me.
This is me. The lecture was, as expected, very, very interesting and educative. Thank you very much for your time and everything. My question, and I apologize to the house for initially leaving my mic on for a few minutes. I apologize, and I want to beg us all to please, each time we are joining a live class, we should try to mute our mic because it's actually causing distraction. I want to ask you, sir, when you were discussing inbreeding, I understood it to. Am I on?
Yeah, I can hear you, Mama Me. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I understood it perfectly, but I've always wanted to practice to do it to at least purify the gene line in my farm too. But I was scared of some output that might come along with it. But I just want to ask you, because I know in the course of your rabbit experiments, you would have done one or two inbreeding and the result. I just want you to share, you discussed some disadvantages that you experienced during your course, and the advantages, they are clear. I understand them, but the disadvantages, you said that there might be some abnormal gene traits that will be expressed as the course of the breeding goes on. So I want to ask that on a lighter note, maybe you just give us one or some few traits that you've encountered. Is it like, are they producing malocclusion? Are they producing weak ones? Is it that they have some defects? You understand what I'm trying to say, sir?
Yeah.
Some of those features that are disadvantageous to the procedure that you did, that you might want to share with us. Then my second question, please, I'm sorry that I'm taking time.
It's okay.
My second question is, I want to ask you, I know that you specialize in New Zealand in your farm. Do you have other breeds that you use to have to do your own crossbreeding too, aside from New Zealand? And when you actually cross some pure gene with them, what were the phenotypic, because I don't want to say what rabbit will you produce, the phenotypic expressions that you got after crossing them, as in the one we are saying skin color and the appearance. Thank you very much, sir.
You're welcome. Thank you. That's a very good question. Thank you, Mama Me. Very, very good question. The first one being, what are some of the disadvantages and whether I've practiced it? The answer to that is yes. I have practiced pure breeding in my farm, and I will say that, and please listen carefully. If please listen carefully. This is very
Yes, sir.
important if you intend to do pure breeding. I or we, myself and Mama Jew, who is my sister, we intentionally and purposely did pure breeding purely because we want to see what is going to happen. Well, when we got into the rabbit farming,
Sorry, sir. You said pure breeding. I meant
so,
inbreeding.
sorry, inbreeding. That's what I meant.
I know. It's you was a slip of
Yeah,
tongue. I just
yeah,
wanted to be sure of
yeah.
that.
So the inbreeding. So
Yes, sir.
we have to be sorry, Mama Me, is it all right to mute your thingy, please? Yeah. So
Okay, sir. Please.
thank you. So we were able to do it because we were not depending on the farm. My farm, we have a 2 years plan. And for me, my plan was to develop. Soon as we started, I started studying these rabbits. I started learning and reading and everything. And the main reason why I have been very successful with my inbreeding. Now I have 4 generations of inbreeding in my gene pool, and I've been able to do that because I was paying the workers. I wasn't in a hurry to sell rabbits. I was okay to be able to support my farm and purely do the inbreeding. And yes, there were some horrible results. We had one brother and sister that we bred in our farm that were flourishing. The mother had, and this is 100% true. The mother is a pure breed white, and the father is a pure breed red. They had 4 big babies, massive babies. All of them were black, and that confirmed that both of them were pure. But a week later, one of the baby died. And then about just over 6 weeks later, the other baby also died without any problem. And then we were left with 2 of them. The 2 of them, the other baby, my sister, through observation and toiling, she's probably laughing at me because sometimes she refused to talk to me because she can't stand the emotional trauma that she was going through. One of them also died about 3 months through, so she had a sort of breathing problem. So you could tell that she's struggling to breathe. She died. And the other one, up to 4 months, she was probably at that point, she was the biggest rabbit. She weighed over 4 kg at that age. She was massive. And my sister didn't talk to me for about a week, and I knew something was going on because she also developed the same breathing problem and she died. So all the litter died. So since then, we never cross those 2 again because we know, even though we don't have the instrument to test and prove that there is some recessive gene in the 2 of them that always pronounce. That will always pronounce, and at some point, all of them might die or they might have an issue. Last week, I also made an example of one that we bred that, you know, she was also one of the biggest in the farm. But anytime she gives birth, all her baby die. And we were using the same father for them. We realized that no, we don't have to continue this breed anymore. So these are some of the things when you're doing inbreeding, you have to be aware of. You have to be emotionally ready to call, and you need to observe, because even up to 6 months old, they might still develop those kind of underlying issue, and then you might have a problem. As at now, yes, I've done some inbreeding that I have proven to myself and my farm that this is a perfect inbreeding. But then I stop. Up to the fourth generation, you stop. If you keep doing it, it's like, I don't know, in Nigeria, if you have gari and sugar, you mix gari and sugar and put water and milk. The more you add water to it, the more you dilute the taste. And that's what happened with inbreeding. If you keep doing it and you don't know when to stop and where to stop, you will start having these problems pronouncing more. And then you talking about the mixed breeding. I think at the moment, I can tell you some of the mixed breeds that I've got are very close to even being better than the pure breeds. This is my honesty. I don't know why I'm telling you the truth. But if you're able to carefully select, because what you should know is even if you have a pure breed to pure breed, there is likely that there is an underlying recessive gene that might pronounce, and your pure breed might not have the right growth. So instead of us focusing on pure to pure, we must be selective, intentionally selective, so that we are able to pinpoint that, okay, out of these 5 of the offspring, this one is the most beautiful. Look at the eyes, look at the ears, look at the feet, look at the backside, look at the weight. This is the excellent breed that you want to use to improve your breed. So you have to be selective and know what you're doing. I have some local breeds. I have I have Queen Victoria. I have Boyfio. Those 2 of them are my starting local breed does, and I will not sell them for any price. Are you listening? I'm not going to sell those 2 local breeds for any price, because they are the only 2. Remember, I started big. I started with about 30 local breeds, but those 2 are still standing. And this is where selecting breeding is. Their babies are so beautiful. Their babies are so strong. Their daughters are giving birth as much as them, not less than 7 babies each. Why am I going to sell them? They're going to die, and I'll bury them and put a statue, put a stone on their thingy in the farm. They are part of the reason Rabbito Farmino is Rabbito Farmino. Those 2 local ones, and that one pure breed mother that I'm talking about, her name is Farse. She and the 2 of them, and then I had some hybrids that I started with that are very, very prolific. I think I have 3 of the hybrids, then 1 pure breed mother, and then 2 totally local. They are not big. Oh no, one of them is smallish, but when you see her babies, and we know that they have their husbands, we don't move them around, because when they meet with their husbands, they're giving you not less than 8 babies. And when they give you the 8 babies, you're winning all of them. So if I'm selling this, at some point I thought, you know what, I'm gonna put a special price on these ones because they are totally special. When you come to my ranch and I say, take this, even if you don't like the color, if I tell you take this, I know exactly what I'm talking about. I know they are prolific. I know they are special. I know they're going to help your farm. So if you use all those breeding tactics, you end up purifying your breed with um, good observation and selective breeding. It doesn't matter what you've got. If you selectively breed, you're more than likely to be successful. I hope this answers your question, Mama Me.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Any more questions, please?
Let's come out and ask questions, please. Let's come out and ask questions.
Just in case you came in late, we have. I'm recording this conversation, so it will be on YouTube, and I have done some specific videos. I'm not going to put it on the group because that clouds the group too much. And this is a very good group. So it will be on YouTube if you have already subscribed and you have ticked the notification bell, then you should be getting a notification when these videos come up and you can recap. On the YouTube videos, I have demonstrated there with pictures how all these 4 breedings are done and advantages and disadvantages. Any more questions, please?
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, my brother.
Really, I love your lecture. It was like the last one is really, really good. But I don't think you lost those ones due to some diseases. It could be due to loss of hybrid vigor. That was what they do say in genetics. I don't know, but they do say due to loss of hybrid vigor. That's why they don't encourage line breeding that much. So maybe that's the problem that you faced then. But really, I love your class. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I gained a lot from it. I gained a lot from it.
Thank you. And yes, you are 100% right. But remember, we are working on the basis of probability. So yes,
Okay.
there is a probability that is a hybrid vigor. Just to expand on hybrid vigor,
Okay, sir.
you normally lose it when you're deep into the inbreeding. You normally lose it when you're too deep into it. And remember, when you're doing the inbreeding, you still have to be selective. You still have to be selective. So, selective breeding, if you like, we can make it the 5th kind of breeding. So, no matter what you've got in your farm, you have to be selective. You have to, that's why one of the most important tool you need to have in your farm is a scale. You have a scale, so you weigh your rabbits and you know which one is gaining weight steadily. You know which one has lost weight or started with a less weight but it's gone up. One of the most important in our farm, we have about 2 scales, 2 to 3, I think, 3 scales, and we weigh the babies every 2 weeks. We do experiment where we are weighing them and we are drafting and we are recording their weights, and then we at some point at 6 weeks or 8 weeks when we are winning them, we say we are keeping this one because his energy is different. Vigor is energy. Okay, energy, the energy. When you see the energy in the rabbit, maybe it's not the biggest, but it's got energy. And you don't want to lose the energy. And you can, what my brother said is true. You can lose the energy, you can lose the vigor if you go too deep into the inbreeding. You are most likely going to lose the vigor. Another terminology that we might want to take note of is inbreeding depression. Inbreeding depression is when you go too deep into it, you start working against yourself. Because, like I gave you the analogy of the gari and sugar and milk, if you keep, because the gari keep coming up. If you put more water, Ijebu gari, it keep popping up, right? And you want to have a lot of them, so you keep you keep putting water in. You realize that the taste will change because the milk is over diluted, the sugar is over diluted, unless you bring sugar and milk to mix it again, right? So you have to be intentional about what you're doing. You take note, you carefully breed. And I must say, if you are a small farm and you are looking to turn around marketing and look after the farm through your breeding, and you don't necessarily have like a period where you have set yourself and say, okay, for the next year, I just want to make sure I get good breed. Of course, I will still be selling because rabbits will still be breeding, but I'll be selling only to meet people because I want to set up my breeding stock. Then if you don't have that pressure, then you will have the heart to be ready to remove all those ones without the vigor that my brother spoke about, and those ones that will depress you, and then you know where to stop, and then you will have a very good breed in your farm. So thank you very much for mentioning that. The hybrid vigor is very important, and you can get the vigor through selective breeding. You have to be intentional. I hope that answers your question. Back to you. Anyone?
Thank you very much, sir.
You're welcome.
Please, more question, please. More questions will come out.
Where is Mr. Penhaville? He's gone.
Yeah, I guess he's a little bit busy.
Okay. Anyone at King's Farm?
Mr. Godwin? Questions, Mr. Godwin? Dr. Busayo? Dr. Bisayo, sorry.
If we don't have questions, then I think we've answered most of the question, which is a good thing. But if anyone has got any question.
Boss, please, when are we doing, thank God for the success of this second lecture, which talks about the line breeding, inbreeding, and so on. When are we going to genetics and phenotype?
I think we did that last week.
Oh, yeah.
We did that last week, yeah.
Mr. Emmanuel Oswa, please, your questions or your addition.
Good evening, house.
Okay, someone is talking.
Yeah, this is Godwin. Please, let me just apologize for what happened. I thought the mic was off and I was using the speakers, the earpiece. I didn't observe. Sorry for that. Thank you for the lectures. It's really an opener. I wanted to ask a question, but
Somebody has asked it's the issue of the vigor and agility, but it has been trashed. It has been trashed. But I want to ask, I want to a bit go further. Is it possible to use inbreeding if you are careful enough for meat because of the size possible? Thank you.
You're welcome. Meat does not differentiate between hybrid, inbreeding. Meat has got nothing to do with it. Meat is meat, and even those ones that we are talking about that they are byproducts or undesirables, if you can keep them, if you can keep them and you can, they are not so, if they are not so disabled that you can't do anything about it, and you can keep them till they achieve the desirable weight, they are perfect meat. They are not poisonous because they've got defects. No. Rabbit meat is rabbit meat, whether it's pure breed or hybrid or uh, 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 whatever crossing it is. The meat is still good. The meat is still meat. So there is no problem with the meat at all. But some of the expression of the negative ones are so bad that it can really have a negative effect on you emotionally, and that's where the West have got a problem with. Like, for instance, you have a baby that is paralyzed from the back, and when you're looking at a baby suffering right from the babyhood, it's a bit emotional. So those are the things that we talk about that are the bad ones. But if you have a rabbit that deformed, maybe one of the front legs is not working properly, or the fur didn't form properly, and they are eating properly, and you're monitoring them and they are putting on the weight. Once they get to the desired weight, they are good for meat. I don't see any problem with that. So the culling really is you not using them to continue your breeding stock, or not selling it to anyone in order to pass on the problem to anyone.
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much.
Hello, sir. Sorry, Mr. Emma. Oh, sorry. Mr. Godwin, I thought, I'm sorry, not to preempt you. I thought what you meant was that since the product of inbreeding sometimes comes with big sizes, right? That they will be okay for meat rabbits. As in, if one does that, one can be using them as meat rabbits instead of using them as breeder. I thought that that's what you were asking.
Yes, that's what I asked. But the way they explained
But
that,
I think Rabbito Farmino did not get it enough, or maybe I'm the one that is not too satisfied with it.
Okay, I think I'm clear with what he said. I think the point there is if I can sustain it, if I can sustain it to the maximum weight in 4 months, or from observation or from little experience, inbreeding might not survive more than 4 months.
Well, me, I even think, I'm thinking that is a fruitless effort.
Yes, it's a fruitless, but if you can sustain it, if you can get the weight in 4 months, I think, since it's a meat, there is nothing bad. There's nothing bad, but I think it might not sustain after 4 months, which that would be, that at that point becomes fruitless. Thank you.
You see, I want us to, you're welcome. I want us to think like, sorry, I'll come to human beings to make this analogy clear. You see the dwarfism in human beings. Okay, this is in animals too. And then we have sickle cells, and generally people with dwarfism, like the people who are very short, they look certain way, the same way, or people with Down syndrome and people with sickle cell diseases, they don't live long. That's the truth about it. They don't live long. But some also live longer than even the fully formed people. All right. So the fact that these animals are are disabled or they are not formed properly does not necessarily mean they are not going to live long if they are looked after. If you're doing pet animal, and you see this in the West, where pet animals who have got disability, like their two hind legs are not working, people construct a wheelchair for them so that they will be able to go everywhere and feel free. Like we see that in dogs, in cats. I've seen that in rabbits. I've even seen that, believe me or not, I've seen that in ducks and chickens. So they have time for the pet purpose. But we in the farm environment, sometimes we don't have the time. But if you're breeding and you want to keep your deformed rabbit, it does not necessarily mean that rabbit is going to die. It just means that you're keeping something that is not going to serve your purpose for you. If you breed a deformed rabbit, it is even possible that they can give birth to normal rabbits. For instance, you get dwarfs mixing with or breeding human beings, dwarfs breeding with normal people, and the offspring are normal people. So it's just that when you don't have the time and you don't want that disruption, you just have to remove it from your farm and concentrate on what you're doing, unless you want to keep them for the purpose of studying or proving something. That's different. But in a farm environment, you just don't have the time to keep a deformed animal for longer than normal. And you can get that even without inbreeding. Just remember that whether inbreeding or not, you can still have deformed animal. You can still have animals picking up the bad traits. I hope this explains.
Mr. Ima, it's your question now, Mr. Ima Joshua.
Okay, good evening to everyone attending this lecture. So unfortunate, it's a nice lecture, but I wasn't present at the very beginning of it, and my sincere apologies about that. Why I should think you're talking about inbreeding, and it's a very wide topic, and it has disadvantage. Sorry, it's not a question. I'll just add some little things.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I heard someone say something about trying to maintain a certain trait. If you have let's pick New Zealand's rabbits that are kept for meat. If you have New Zealand's that give a very good meat to bone ratio, I think you could do inbreeding, because in animal husbandry generally there's what we refer to as tandem breeding. So it's when you pick out a stock, irrespective of the genetics or irrespective of the relation. You pick a certain stock, be it brother and sister, be it mother and son, and then you breed them till you get a certain trait. However, sometimes when you do it too much, that's when you get fatal consequences and stuff like that. But that is what tandem crossing is. That you breed rabbits that are closely related till you get a specific trait you're looking for. You're keeping for meat, and then you've bred continuously, and then you're getting rabbits that are weighing a certain kg, of what you want for meat, and I think that's fine. But one thing is the transparency. If you are selling to someone else, and I think it's fair enough, you tell the person that okay, this rabbit is an inbred rabbit. So if he has bought from you before, or she has bought from you, or whatever, then they should be conscious of still not mating the rabbit with a relation of his. So I think that's just what I have to add to this lecture. But it's been amazing, and I'm glad I'm here.
Mr. Ima, thank you very much. I think maybe you missed the point, but I think I've mentioned all the points that you've mentioned. So maybe you can catch up on YouTube when this is live. But 100% what you said. Basically, what you're saying is you just don't overthink it. Basically, don't overthink it. You see the good qualities that you want in two rabbits.
Sorry, please. LSG, mute your phone, please. Learn how to mute your phone.
Yeah. So you see two good traits in rabbits that you like, maybe the same litter, you like the two of them. So long as you're taking record and you're doing this intentionally, there is nothing wrong with trying it, but just bear in mind that you're doing inbreeding. That's the term for it. It's inbreeding. So long as they are closely related, it's inbreeding, but it's also tandem breeding, like Mr. Ima have just said. It's tandem, so it doesn't matter. Just identify the good breeds. Just understand that you're going in it, that it's possible that you can pick some bad stuff in what you're doing. Just be aware of it and you'll be fine. There is nothing wrong with that. Thank you.
More questions, please. More questions.
Is anyone trying to ask a question? I think we have about half an hour more, isn't it?
Please, can I just include something? Sorry.
Yes, my brother.
I was reading something. I think I was reading a publication this afternoon, and it has to do with inbreeding. So I would just like to share a little.
Okay.
If you have a primiporous doe, if you have a primiporous doe, that's a doe that's just littered for the first time, right? And she's inbred. Let's say you bred her with a brother. The publication was actually saying that when the male from that mating, when you pick out a male from that mating and you use it to mate, okay, let's just say that's the F2 generation, right?
Yeah.
You use it to mate another doe. There's a high tendency that doe might not conceive, because they were saying something about oxidative stress, which has to do with genetics and stuff like that. So I just felt like sharing this whole. I think I'll take some screenshots from the journal and I'll put it on the group so we could all learn from that.
No, thank you very much. You know, this breeding can be simplified or it can be amplified. So it depends on how deep you want to go into it. But people have done a lot of experiments with breeding. So when someone comes out with a finding, we have to treat it as serious unless you can prove them wrong. You have to treat it as serious, and you have to treat it until you carry on your experiment and you can prove that this is not the case. You should not in any way, shape, or form deny or say something like, "Oh, this is not true." I think we are quick to dismiss things, but anyone who comes out to say something, definitely they have tried it, or just just try it yourself. And if you don't find a result, then you can say what you want. But yes, thank you for sharing that. I'm going to try it. I'm going to try it because let me tell you a secret. If you're watching most of my pets, remember I've got my farm rabbits. I don't show so much of them in my YouTube at the moment because I have my pet rabbits, and I'm showing a lot of them. If you're following my pet rabbits, my girl is Beverly. She just had 11 babies. And all the babies are super perfect, healthy. There is no problem. They are now, today as we speak, they are 8 weeks old. And all of them are perfect. 6 girls, 5 boys. And let me reveal to you that was inbreeding. The father, who is Gustavo, the father is half brother to Beverly. All right, don't tell anyone. I'm telling you that in here. So that's inbreeding. That's 100% inbreeding. There is no sign that any of the offspring is weak. There is no sign. They are all beautiful. Now, I'm finding it difficult to let any one of them go. That's how much attached I am to them. You know? And it's inbreeding. And, again, don't tell anyone because they will come after me. I have Beverly's brother there. That's Tank. If you follow my YouTube, Beverly's brother is Tank. They come from the same litter on the same day. Tank is so big. And I want to whisper this one because I don't want them to hear it because the animal right people hate inbreeding. I want to breed Beverly with Tank. And we will see what's going to happen. I think I know what's going to happen.
Yeah, we're going to arrest you.
That's why I'm whispering it.
Mister, I hope you are going to edit this place anyway. So you don't forget, I end up putting it on YouTube like that.
I'm not afraid of them. They are my pets. I can do what I do.
You are living there, and the president said you guys are eating their pets.
This is a perfect. Don't be afraid. Just be aware that the consequences might come. I did what I did with a clear intention of wanting to prove, even though I've proven in my farm, I wanted to reprove myself. I'm somebody who is very hard to convince, and my head that is on my head is a hard head. You know, if I want to do something, I will do it. You know, so my pets are inbred and they are all perfect. And I intend to do a lot more permutation just to have concrete knowledge, because knowledge is power. Like my brother just said, knowledge is power. And it's easy for us to argue, but if I have the proof, like I've just proven to you that Beverly's babies are inbred. So if you have a fear about inbred, she littered 11. Her first littering is 11. And she's still walking there like she's ready to litter again. And all her babies are popping, like the vigor, the power, the energy they have. They are becoming too much for me already. And they are inbred. So don't overthink it. So long as you have the time and you have the energy to do your records and stuff like that, and you're not in a hurry, try it. Try inbreeding. I would say when you're starting, try it up to the grandfather. So my advice is go parents, grandparents, and then just stop there for now.
Sorry, Rabbito Farmino. Please, can you give us like a phylogenetic scheme to understand. I'm sorry. Say now, if I want to try my own inbreeding, for example, now like a schematic representation. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah. I think you will see the schematic diagram that I've done on the YouTube videos that I've pre-recorded already.
That would be lovely.
Yeah, you see them. I think I made the videos just over 10 minutes, and I specifically drew the diagram how it goes. But do not be afraid. Just get ready for the results if it comes. Don't be afraid.
Is it on YouTube already, sir?
It will be there. I just have to put it on. I just have to put it to the public, but I've pre-recorded it already. Just have to put it on there. Yeah.
Okay, sir.
I think we have about half an hour. So if anyone have got any more questions. Mr. Lore, Chairman,
Boss.
have you got something for me? Any question for me?
No, not at all.
Okay, that's fine. How is the one that just leaked 7? Juliet, my
Yeah,
sister.
good. We have 22 today. This morning she gave us 8.
Oh wow. Wow. I see. That's very good. I just want to say that social media is one place where we can have a lot of scare, because I almost watch any video that comes out that has got rabbit on it. That's how dedicated and how much dedication I have for rabbits. And there was a time I saw a video. That video was from Ghana actually, and this person was talking very negatively about inbreeding, because he had inbreeding and the fare of the babies did not form properly. And this is what my brother said about when you have done inbreeding to some extent, you are depressing the genes. Inbreeding depression is a big negative thing. And if you're not careful and you don't mix it with crossbreeding, you will end up with undesirable litter. I'm not saying grab 1 or 2 out of the litter. The whole litter becomes undesirable unless you go and get another buck from another gene pool, from another farm. Maybe go to another state and get it and come and reinvigorate your breeding stock if you're doing inbreeding. So don't be afraid of the term. I know it's been demonized, totally demonized. So anytime you mention inbreeding, that's it. It's just like, think about it this way. Salt is good when you put the right proportion in soup, right? Sugar is good when you put the right proportion into your porridge. Then pepper is good when you put the right proportion in your food. It is the same, that you need to know where to stop. I think what I was saying before was that if you're beginning inbreeding, just stay up to the parent for the start. So if you breed mother and son, daughter and father, sister to brother, stop from there. That's the first stage of inbreeding. Stop. Now, whatever result you get from this nuclear family, do not rebreed them to each other again. Now go and look for an outcrossing or another outcrossing or a hybrid from a different line and use them to pair these small inbreeding that you've done and see the results. You will get wonderful results. Okay? Don't go ahead and breed the don't skip to line breeding, or don't go too far down all the way to great grandfather, great great grandfather. That is when you have the same kind of pool. But if you end at mother to father, mother to son, if you end at that circle and then don't cross them against each other again, just get another male or another female and use them against them, you will tend to pronounce the good traits and you do your selective breeding and pick up the best. And before you realize, you have different groups that are going to be super prolific for you. It takes time. Sometimes it takes years. And just so you know, this is how breeds are created. So Hyla, one of the most popular breeds in Nigeria, is a breed between California and New Zealand, and then you get Hyla. So that is what's that? That will be a crossbreeding. Sorry, that's hybriding, And before they get Hyla, they must have gone through generations of New Zealand and generations of California and then got the exact genes that they are expecting. And when they are creating a breed, they are testing the genetics. They don't just come out and say, oh, this is Hyla. They have proven that the genetics, the genes in this Hyla has got this and that and the other. It's deep. So this is practice in order to create these specific breeds. California is a breed between Himalayan and New Zealand. That's why they have similar traits. With the exception of the black coloration on California, there is not a lot of difference between California and New Zealand. And their growth rate is very, very close, even though the New Zealand edges the California a little bit. So it's deep. It depends on how deep you want to go into it. But sometimes when you go too deep, you can go crazy because it doesn't end. So just if you intend to try inbreeding, just do, I would say, start from mother to son or father to daughter. That is not too direct. Start that. Just do one. And when you do one, don't overdo them. Don't sell any from that litter. Select your best, and then if you want to continue from that, you continue from that. That way you are not going to get yourself too confused. And be sure not to sell the first litter of inbreeding to anybody. I don't sell mine. So I've done my inbreeding. I've developed one line. As I said to you, I have 3 bucks. Those 3 bucks are the family. Then I had 3 pure breed does. And those 3, I kept one of the previous ones that died. I kept some from them, and I've been able to permutate it. I've been doing this for 1.5 years. Although I've sold some, my focus was not selling. My focus was to develop the breeds that I want to specialize on. So my focus was not on selling, but I have equally sold a lot of meat because I refuse to sell breeds that come out of inbreeding to anyone, because my name, the farm name, is what I want to protect to the highest extent. If you buy a breed from me, I want only praises. I don't take criticism that well. So and so far, testimony, if I tell you the list of people waiting to get our breeding stock, you won't believe it. Because what I'm showing you what is going on in the farm. I'm showing you everything. So just be selective, be bold, try it. If you don't have a large, your farm is not too big, don't bother, don't do it. If you don't have the time, don't do it. If you don't have the courage, don't do it. There's nothing wrong. You can still do your mixed breeding, and you can still make a lot of money from rabbitry. Any more question, please?
Hello, sir.
Hello, Mama Mi.
When you were talking, you said if the farm is not too big, that you should not do what? I just want to have an insight of, at least, no, this one is not related, it's not so much of a deep thing. What's your own view of what level of breeding though will you say it's has moved away from a small farm?
It's really subjective, my sister. It's really,
I know.
it's very.
It's a personal question for me, sir.
Like I said, we have 150 door units, right? 150 door units. To where I want to get to is not big. I want to have at least 1,000 door units. That's when I will say, okay, I'm but it's possible. That's my target.
I know, but it's scary.
It's scary, but then,
but very scary.
yeah, this is when you have 10 farmers.
One does 1,000. You have abattoir and everything ready.
This is what I'm saying. I have a big farmland. I've got 10 farmers or 20 farmers. I've got shift workers. I've got someone who is resident, someone who is on night duties. Every hour, I have a rabbit delivering.
Wow.
That's when you get into the business sector. That's when you're going to make the millions that they talk about in rabbitry. Unfortunately, if you have it in small scale, it's hard for you to make those millions. You make some money, don't get me wrong, but you need the numbers to make the money.
Yes.
So it's a number game. So if you someone who is doing it at their backyard, they can still call it a farm. They can still make a lot of money if they have like 5 door units. If you have like 5 door units, it is possible that you can plan it that within the year you sell 200 rabbits, as meat. It's really subjective of your plan and what you're doing and how much time you want to invest into it.
Yes. Okay. Thank you very much, sir.
You're welcome, Mama.
Mr. Victor Angba, we haven't heard from you since. Please, your question. We have less than 15 minutes more. Please, questions. Mr. Dr. Bisayo, your question.
Can I ask a question then? Can I ask, has anyone done inbreeding and what's their experience with that? If there's anyone who has done inbreeding and what experience they've got from it.
Ima Oswa, I know you have done it.
Is that a naming and shaming?
Uma, I'm looking at you with 3D eye. That's what I'm using to look at.
Rabbito Farmino.
Yes, my brother.
Ima is funny enough. Iman is my friend's junior brother, and he is my mentor and my boss.
Wow. Uncle Ima, please share your experience. Oh,
My rabbit that is in my place from your place. Is he? I hope it's not a product of our experiments.
I've tried it. It worked. It's okay. I've tried it.
Yeah, please give us a little bit more experience.
Okay. I have the Bella, that's the female, that's the doe, and Michael, which is the buck, is a father.
I'm waiting for you to talk after Ogao.
Is a father. Is a father to Bella. The mother is Jasmine, and while the Bella is the baby. So I tried it, littered 6, and sincerely, okay. But what made me now I want to stop now from what Rabbito farmer said, that don't continue. But I will continue, but with a clause, and I'll be very mindful of it. So I've tried more father to daughter, which just littered. As I speak to you now, I just littered 6.
Perfect. No, just to clarify, just to clarify what
Hello?
my brother is saying, Godwin.
Yes.
Just to clarify, don't stop if you have the time and you want to go on. Please don't go beyond great grand. So go up to 4th generation. We need the records. We need the records. Go up to 4th generation. And once you get to 4th generation, if you go beyond that, you're going to run into high inbreeding depression, and you're going to run into the loss of vigor. That's my brother earlier on mentioned. And you might run into so many stuff. But what I was saying is, if you're a beginner and you want to try it, don't go too far. But obviously, if you have the number and you have the time, there is nothing wrong with trying. Just keep the record and come and share with us.
Okay, I will.
Thank you.
I actually have tried it in my farm before.
Oh.
I've tried it in my farm, and she littered 10. But after that, I never crossed her with anyone related to that again. And the keepings, unfortunately, only 4 survived even at birth. I had, I think, 6 stillbirth and 4 live one. So I discontinued.
Mama Me, let me just encourage you that let me just encourage Mama Me there, that the fact that she gave birth to a large number is a good thing, it's positive. You losing some at birth is not necessarily, please get me right, it's not necessarily the reason of the inbreeding, not necessarily. So what I say is 3 strikes and out. What I will rather confirm it. So I'll go again and have another go. Like my brother was saying when I earlier on explained that I didn't continue to rebreed those 2 again. He is well right. You have to do more than one. That's why it's an experiment. You have to do it with the head that you're experimenting. But the fact that you lost some and you lost some. I've had a situation where I had that's not even inbreeding. It was a totally correct kind of breeding, outcrossing. The mother had 7 babies. The next day, all 7 of them dead. All of them. All of them died. But what you should remember is when rabbits are pregnant, they go through a lot of things, and it could be an effect of any. So what we did, and this is recent, my sister will, Mama Juliet will testify this. What we did is 2 weeks later, we bred her again, and she's had another 7 babies who are in their 3rd week, all thriving. Do you understand? So we have to be patient with a rabbit, because the reason why they are losing their babies is not necessarily what we are pointing at. We need to be patient and understand that a lot of factors determine whether they are going to survive or not, whether the babies are doing okay or not. There was one hybrid that also bred, and during the pregnancy she developed abscess, and we thought we were going to lose her. Her name was is Salem. She's still there, and she littered 3. No, she littered 4, and the next day all 4 were dead. And we thought we were going to lose her, but we treated her. She was well. We gave her about 2 months and started breeding her again. And for the next 4 breedings, she was giving us 4 babies. And recently, just about 2-3 weeks ago, she's got 8 babies. And this is one of our starting stock. She's nearly 2 years. From 4 babies to 8 babies. So sometimes we have to be patient with these animals and let them settle. Let them be comfortable when they are pregnant, and let us not conclude so quickly that they are bad rabbits, they are good rabbits. Let's be patient. There are some that we write off. We're like, oh, this one is a bad one. This one is this and this. And then we're not even sure whether they conceive or not. They took they bred properly. And when we are thinking, you know what, we're going to take this one. There was one recent, we're going to take this one from the breeding stock. The next day, guess what? They gave birth. Gave birth to 6, and looking after all these 6 perfectly. And if you're patient, those ones that are very difficult, they tend to be the best mothers. You note this. The difficult ones, the ones that are stubborn, you breeding them, they are beating the boys, they are climbing the boys. When they start giving birth, they somehow become the best parents. Queen Victoria, who is one of my stalwart females, the first time we bred her, oh my goodness, the vigor, the power, the energy this girl has got. She was flying everywhere. She was like everywhere. Soon as she gave birth, now you can't even put your hand in her mouth. She will just laugh at you. And she looks after her babies perfectly. So it's important for us to be patient with them. Be patient with the rabbits. Don't conclude. Probably we have made some mistakes during this almost 2 years of being in existence, and we've made some hasty mistakes. And looking back, sometimes me and my sister, we turn around and we be like, oh, we could have given her another chance. So let's be patient. Let's not conclude. Mama, I will encourage you to try another inbreeding. Don't be afraid. Try another one. If you still have the same doe and the same buck, try it again and share it with us in due time. Any more questions? Probably we have time for one more question. You're welcome, Mama. Anyone?
Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Mr. Rabbito Farmino. Thank you very much for the lecture. You that took me back to my biology class. Thank you so much. Thank you also for the organizers. So I have this question about breeding. Questions about breeding cannot stop really. So you said that we should make sure to keep at least one or two from particular litter when our doe litters. In deciding the female to keep or the male, anyone, does size matter? Does size of that particular kid that you would like to keep, does it matter? Because I feel that is it possible that if you have a smaller size doe, is it possible for that doe to give birth to a large litter, or the bigger the size of the doe, the possibly bigger or larger the size of the litter? What do you think, sir?
Yeah, thank you very much, my brother. Yeah, in selecting your breeding stock, a lot of things are taken into consideration, but I will stop short of saying that in Africa, where our main goal is meat, obviously you're going to go for the weight first. But you don't end at the weight. You have to look for other features, like I said earlier on, the vigor, the activeness of these rabbits also play a part. But for what we see physically, I think the weight should be probably number one, because it's more likely that if a heavy rabbit give birth, they will be giving birth to heavier rabbits. But you can look at other things like the back, the back of the rabbits. Those rabbits, those who do rabbit show, when you see the way they judge, they are looking at how the rabbit is formed and how round their back is, the head, the ears. So if those features matter to you, then obviously go ahead and look at those features as well. But if you're looking at a rabbit that will be giving you heavier breeds, then I think the weight is one of the most important things that you should look at. And talk about the weights. Some of the rabbits gain weight at some point rapidly. They might be small in the beginning, but then if you weigh them rapidly, you will realize that the way they are gaining weight is faster than even the bigger ones that are formed. But for the most part, the bigger ones are normally the ones that I will pick first in my selective breeding. And yes, their size doesn't necessarily mean, especially for those, their size does not necessarily means they will give bigger breeds, babies, or smaller babies. It's really, really, really depend on whom you are pairing with, as in the back, because as you know, in the gene structure, the man brings 50% and the woman also brings 50%. And remember, there are recessive genes. There are genes that are suppressed in there, and that can be more, that can be expressed more in their offspring. So you just don't know exactly 100% what you're going to get. I think we are hitting the time now. You're welcome, sir. Maybe we can take one more question if it will be quick. Otherwise, we've hit the mark.
The last person to talk is Ima, and then we'll finish this lecture today.
Okay.
Ima, please, you can talk and we'll finish this lecture, please.
Okay.
Please, Goshen, please, mute your speaker, please.
Okay. I think the question was you were asking me about my experience with inbreeding, right?
Yes. Ashia, please, your phone is not mute.
I think okay. So in my farm, I've done inbreeding actually. Sorry.
Sorry, this person is really interrupting.
Can somebody call Mr. Goshen to make his mic?
Thank you. Please go on, okay?
All right. In my farm, I've done inbreeding. I've selected Angoras. There's what we refer to as bulldogs. Bulldogs is a term you just use to refer to rabbits as a broad head, and then it's very hexagonal. Let me put it that way. It's very broad. So I've picked rabbits with that phenotype, and I've mated rabbits that have the gene for bloom. Now, the bloom is just a simple term to refer to Angoras that don't have locked paws. From birth till when you start mating them, you don't have serious issues with grooming. So I've done that. I think I've done that till an F2 generation, and then I stopped. And honestly, I didn't really have any casualties. I just stopped because I had already gotten the results I was looking for. So personally, my advice is, as Rabbito farms have said, you look at a benchmark. When you've gotten a desired trait, when you've gotten a desired result, then you stop. That's just my experience with inbreeding, but I've done inbreeding with my Angoras very well.
Thank you very much for sharing. Absolutely bang on. The answer you gave is 100%. Thank you very much. I'm really enjoying this company, and I hope at some point I'll be able to input again when called upon by our honorable chairman. Thank you very much. And unless X-Farm has got something more to add.
No. Please, House, please let us unmute our speakers and appreciate Rabbito Farmino, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Rabbito Farmino. We really appreciate you. God bless you. And we cannot thank you enough. You have really, 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 really impacted us more this night. We appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mama Mi. I really appreciate all of you as well. I think at some point I need to step into Nigeria, and then we can have a proper conversation.
In fact, I'm hosting you when you come. I'm hosting you when you come to Nigeria.
Oh, thank you.
You can see. Thank God you have been mentioning Ibadan in your conversation. So now Mama Mi is in Ibadan.
Oh, wow.
Every one of us.
Ah.
We all are going to meet in Ibadan when you come around.
Oh.
Of us.
Listen, I will hold you to my words because I do travel as well. So don't put it past me. I will arrange and pop in and see you.
No problem. No problem. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much. House, let us go to the house and let us pepper people that are not online today. Let us go and pepper them.
Mr. X-Farm, please take it easy on the pepper, you know.
Okay, sir.
I really appreciate you. please get in contact with me if there is any topic that you want me to take on. Probably it will be next year because I know we are all in a festive spirit. So I really appreciate this group. But I will be involved in the group whenever I can chip in anything. I will do that. Thank you very much. I really appreciate you all.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you too. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye bye.